welcome to the Rime Buddhist Center's Dharma Talk podcast, Achieving Peace Through Compassion. This podcast is a recording of the Dharma Talks given during our Sunday service.
Today, the topic of my Dharma Talk is compassion. Compassion, and specifically compassion for people I like, compassion for myself, compassion for everyone. And that can be tough sometimes to have compassion for everyone, right? Compassion is that feeling when someone is hurting and I care. When someone is hurting and I care, or when someone's hurting and I care a lot. That's probably more like it. And in my career, I'm a union steward, and I almost want to say that's a helping profession, but it's not. It's not a helping profession, but I have to show compassion every day because people are coming at me with their problems every day. And you know what I've learned is if you don't really care, people can tell. If you don't really care, people can tell. And I want to say, gosh, I have a little bit of I don't like rich people in my heart. I have a little bit of that in my heart. So sometimes that kind of compassion's hard. And I have to remind myself that the richest man in the world got divorced, right? So he's suffering too. And he was so bored, he built a rocket. So he's suffering too, just like me. I didn't build a rocket, but I did get divorced. And I've got to remember that. My favorite thing about that is, that happened twice. There are two richest men in the world that got divorced and built rockets, right? So that's weird. But so I remind myself of that when I think rich people don't suffer. Well, of course they do. Everyone does. We're all getting older. We are all getting sick. We're all seeing people we love and care about having a hard time. We all go through that. That's what can kind of bring us together. But also, the world may try to tell us that compassion is a weakness or not a strength anyway. There's pejorative words for this, like these days people say you're a snowflake if you care about other people, right? When I was a kid, people used to say you're a bleeding heart if you care about other people. And I'm here to tell you the opposite. Compassion is strength. Having an open heart is a way toward happiness also. It's strength and it's a way toward happiness. I know it's a strength because it's hard sometimes. And in this book that I read a meditation from earlier, Boundless Heart, the author, Christina Feldman, she says, I'm going to read you a quote now, sorry. She says, and I quote, "Compassion has the power to bring harshness and cruelty to an end. Compassion heals our hearts even when pain cannot be fixed. Compassion is the root of forgiveness, patience, and tolerance. The seed of profound and immeasurable compassion lies in each of our hearts," end quote. And I think that's true. And I think we can forget that we need to have compassion for ourselves too. The Dalai Lama said, if your compassion doesn't include yourself, it's incomplete. I think of, you guys know the golden rule, that's that do unto others as you would have them do unto you. For a while, I had that mixed up in my head. And I thought it was do to others what you do to yourself. And that's not good because I don't need to be telling other people sometimes you're not good enough, you're a loser, et cetera, because I have that negative self-talk sometimes. And man, I shouldn't talk to other people that way, right? I don't give myself a break most of the time. And I hope I'm not the only one because that would be really embarrassing. But that's true. I have negative self-talk and you cannot bring that to other people. So we can't treat other people the way we treat ourselves, at least not always. And compassion also can help us with giving us an opportunity to see through our self-interest and see the world around us with more clarity. So we're not thinking about ourselves all the time. I think, I remember on 9/11, when that stuff happened, I went out and I gave blood. A lot of people went out and gave blood that day because we knew there was a lot of suffering going on because of those events. And I think we tend to want to be heroes more than we want to be caregivers. And by that, I mean this. I'm going to go give blood when there's a terrible tragedy going on that's affecting a lot of people. But man, the blood center needs blood all the time, right? It doesn't need blood when a tragedy it does, but it also needs blood all the time. There's always a need. They always don't have enough. And that's being a caregiver. So Being a hero is when you see a bridge collapse and you jump into the water to help people get out. But being a caregiver is like taking care of the bridge so it doesn't collapse, right? And we're real good. We're way better at being heroes, I think, in the West. I don't know if that's true everywhere, but I think it's true here. We're way better at being heroes than caregivers. So, in his book, A Fearless Heart, the former monk Thupten Jinpa says, and I quote, "Through compassion training, we learn to acknowledge non-judgmentally the whole package of our reality, our vulnerability and weaknesses, as well as our strengths, good fortune, and bad fortune, and we forgive ourselves for our mistakes and failings." End quote. I do not forgive myself very well for my mistakes and failings. But the truth is, a lot of the time, we don't like to acknowledge our weaknesses, and we often struggle to do so without judging ourselves harshly. And that's where that self-compassion can lead us. It leads to self-acceptance. And also, compassion gives us a big opportunity to put down our self-obsession for a little while. That's really my big struggle. I'm obsessed with myself. And I need compassion to put that down. Selfishness is a burden because we can never be fully fulfilled. We always want more and more and more. And so it can be a burden, although we don't think of it that way. So I'm going to read you one more quote from Boundless Heart. Again, wonderful book. She says, and I quote, "At the heart of compassion is the invitation to turn toward suffering. Just as the longing for love, safety, and respect is a universal longing and story, so too is pain a universal and inescapable story. In the anguished moments of loneliness, grief, and fear that can touch our lives, we are convinced that no one else has ever felt this way before. Yet there may be a moment when we find the courage to open our eyes and hearts and see that same pain mirrored in the eyes and lives of everyone around us." End quote. It reminds us we're not alone, because we're not ever alone. And I really like the word anguish. It's that feeling when you're so upset that you think you could die. That's anguish. I like that you can name it. You can name that feeling and sort of take some of its power. When you're so sad you think you could die. That's anguish. But also, compassion connects us with other people. It brings us together in a way that few other things can. It's where we get that reminder that other people are people. As they say, everyone you meet's fighting a hard battle. And I think that's true. We're all enduring the suffering of, like I said earlier, old age, sickness, and death. And we're all enduring that suffering of not getting what we want and seeing other people we care about in distress. We have this in common with everyone. No one on this planet doesn't suffer. We can go so caught up in our stuff that we forget this. And we forget that other people are people. And we think, oh, that person, not that person, though. That person doesn't deserve my compassion. But they deserve it just by being a person. And the truth is, like, those politicians and public figures that I really don't like, I don't think they're happy people. I don't think they're happy. I don't think that certain guy I really don't like, I don't think he's happy. So this is why meditation practices like metta and tonglen that we did today can be really helpful. We do these practices to train our hearts and to open our minds to care about others. When I first started practicing Buddhism, I thought those kinds of teachings were not for me. I thought I don't like other people that much. Why do I want to open my heart? And I'm happy to tell you that I was wrong. And opening my heart, I love other people now, and it makes me happy. Compassion and connecting with others can be the whole path for us. The whole point is connecting with other people. And compassion also helps us learn how to control ourselves. I like to say faith is best when it's helping us learn how to help others and helping us learn how to control ourselves. And I like to say faith is not the best when it's helping us learn how to control others and help ourselves. That's what I think. And when we're not controlling ourselves, when we're self-obsessed and pulled around by our desires, then we can just sleepwalk sleepwalk through life and not make active decisions. And that makes it really easy for people to sell us things. It makes it really easy for us to make bad decisions and be like, oh my gosh, why did I even do that? So training in compassion gives us the power to take back our lives and not be so pulled around by these greed, hatred, and delusion, which we call the three poisons. And it can also help us find purpose in our lives. If we're not so self-obsessed and we're seeing things clearly and we're caring about other people, then we can find our purpose and we can find ways to change the world and make the world a better place, because you can make a difference. So that's my talk for today. Thank you for taking the time to be here and listen to me. And I love you all.
Thank you for listening to the Rime Buddhist Center's Dharma Talk podcast. Music was provided by Barefoot Brand Music. Please consider supporting the Rime Buddhist Center by making a donation at our website at www.rimecenter.org/donate.